So the lighting of the smoker isn't just another task. It's actually a transition. When you light your smoker, you are coming off of a day and transitioning into a day of beekeeping. So most people, when they're driving home, they're thinking about what groceries they need to buy at the grocery store. And when they're at the grocery store, they're thinking about what they need to cook and what their kids have done and how their bees are doing. They're never in the here and the now. They're always drifting into the future or the past. But when you're beekeeping, you cannot drift into the future or the past. You need to stay in the here and the now. And when you're lighting your smoker, you're needing to shift your mindset from the herky-jerky, I gotta get stuff done, into the slow, methodical, I've gotta be a beekeeper. So, you're lighting your smoker and you're needing to remember to move slowly, and you're needing to remember to live in the present, in the here and the now. So I recommend, when you're first starting out in beekeeping, don't use a blowtorch, use a lighter, light your smoker as if it was a ceremony. You are transitioning into becoming a beekeeper for the day. Today we're going to cover the smoker. Now the smoker is your rifle for the battlefield. You need to know all about the smoker, how to light it efficiently, how to keep it going, what fuel to use, and why you're using it. So I want to cover a lot of that in a very short amount of time. So buckle up and take notice. The smoker itself is fairly simple. The design has evolved over 100 years. Some of the Europeans have smokers that you hold by your teeth and they're blown through like a pipe, but generally most Western smokers are this style. It's going to have bellows, it's going to have a chamber, and it's going to have a flip lid. Now, the more you pump the bellows, the more air is forced in here and more oxygen goes to the fire, which heats it up. And heat creates fire. The fire creates smoke. Now you're not wanting to make as much smoke as possible. You're wanting to make cool smoke, which means you want to put in a fuel that smolders more than burns. There are lots of fuels you can burn. You can burn corn cobs, you can burn burlap sacks, you can burn pine needles. I prefer straw that I find out near my apiary because it's available, it's cheap, and it's quickly there. But for you it might be something different. If you're a backyard smoker, a backyard beekeeper, you may not have a readily available cheap source of handy smoke fuel and you'll have to go buy some. I recommend just cedar chips that you buy in a pet store. Work quite well. Now on your smoke fuel, if you're like me and you're wanting to just grab any fuel, be careful. You need to be picking the same type of grass that you burn in your outyard every time. Do not just grab any dry fuel because you don't know what it is and you don't know if you're allergic to it. I had the uncomfortable experience of grabbing random dry grasses, and one time I burned a grass that I must have been allergic to. I want to warn you about the common shipping cardboard. That cardboard is corrugated. Those corrugations are glued to the backing of cardboard. That adhesive is really acidic and smells foul. So I recommend you do not burn cardboard. If it's not good for you, it darn sure isn't good for your bees. So, with that said about smoker fuel, let's talk about how to start the smoker. Another good fuel is going to be rotten wood, wood that's just kind of going. So I'm going to drop in some rotten wood, and I'm going to put in some twigs. Some are green, some are dead. Green gives you cooler smoke. Now here's a trick I've learned. There's two tricks for a smoker. The way you get a smoker going is heat, not flame. People don't seem to understand that about fire. So one good way to start your smoker is old popcorn bags. They are usually an oil-infused paper. They're going to burn fairly slowly and burn fairly hot. And once they burn up, which will be in the first minute to 2 minutes, then whatever's in there starts to burn. So that this will burn hot and then this will burn much cooler with cool smoke. The other method, the other starter method, is something that I got from Boy Scouts, and that is the lint out of your dryer. If you're in a country that has dryers, lint builds up in the lint filter, and this lint is mainly cloth. And this cloth burns very, very slowly and very hot. So you can drop it in there, it's going to start the smoker and get it going. But for this instance, we're going to go ahead and start with the bag. And then you use your hive tool or your knife. Give it some puffs. Small puffs work much better than big puffs. Big puffs almost blow so much air that it puts it out. Small puffs fuel it. Now don't just expect one side to start burning. You want the whole thing to start burning. So keep puffing it longer than you think you should, and it's going to start burning pretty well. Now what I like to do on top of this is I like to drop in grass and green leaves to give it some cool smoke effect. Now if you start seeing fire, flames, and sparks shooting out the tip of your smoker, you're pumping it too much. You need to let it burn down a little bit. Now with smoking, a little smoke goes a long way with bees. Now I'm going to go ahead and put out the smoke. Make sure you always have water nearby. Okay, so I've taught you how to light a smoker, just the very basics, and a little bit about the transition from a hectic world into the calm world of the beekeeping. Now I want to tell you that I have a cheat. If you are a second or third year beekeeper or higher, you're allowed to take a little bit of a shortcut because you know what happens if you're in too much of a rush in the outyard. Once you have learned the feng shui of lighting your smoker and transitioning, then you can bypass a little bit of that lighting process and do what I do. Blowtorch. This is the easiest, nicest, cleanest way to light your smoker. But you are not allowed to use this your first year. Even if you own one, you should not be using a blowtorch your first year. At this point, I want to have a very quick talk about safety, fire safety. The most dangerous thing you will ever do in your outyard is have a smoker. This smoker can catch fire to all kinds of burnable substances. Outyards are not known for being well-groomed and maintained. There's often long grass, there's dead shrubbery, all kinds of things that can catch fire. They're usually quite isolated. So if you ever start a fire, it's going to be up to you right then, right there to stop it. If it gets out of control, you better get to your vehicle and go alert the local authorities that there is a fire that is out there. So you want to be very, very careful. Now I always bring with me a 2-liter bottle of water, and I use that to put out my smoker and to wash up my hands from honey. The other thing you have to be very careful about is your vehicle, whether it is a truck or a car or a motorcycle that you use to get to your outyard. It has a hot engine. And I had one colleague who left his engine running once to go check on something. Now, he was a rancher, he wasn't a beekeeper, but he turned around and his truck was burning up because he had set the grass on fire around it because the engine was in contact with tall, thick grass, and it had caught fire.